Yeah. Now it's our chance, yeah, to have a discussions related with the topic, yeah. If you already, yeah, read our course grid, the syllables, yeah, it is about second language acquisition and learning, yeah. So we learn about acquisition versus learning. Have you ever heard? Ada yang pernah mendengar itu? What is, of course, learning, yeah, it's very common one. But if we talk about acquisition, yeah, have you heard about it yet? Jadi
Not
simple.
yet, sir.
Not yet, Pak Dila.
Not
And then
yet,
the
sir.
other one?
Yes, sir.
Not yet.
Okay.
Acquisition.
Can you hear the voice and also see the screen ya? Sekarang sudah bisa melihat screen-nya?
Yes, sir.
Ya, thank you Pak Dila and others. Second language acquisition versus foreign language learning. But first, we'll distinguish what is first, ya, language acquisition, of course. Acquisition itu kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia pemerolehan, ya, pemerolehan bahasa. And then learning, ya, pembelajaran bahasa. Nah, that's our clue in the beginning. Pemerolehan, pembelajaran. So what is differences? Yeah, that's why as a language learner and like later on you will be a teacher, right? You need to know whether this is the slight differences or maybe the deep differences related with acquisition and learning. Yeah. If we talk about toddler, yeah, after baby, infants, toddler, yeah, toddler, when they were in the younger age, yeah, they will talk like baba, mama, yeah, in the book of linguistics, and of course from the real sample in your surroundings. Maybe you have nephew, yeah, niece, or maybe your neighbor have son or daughter. You can observe how they learn, yeah, and in linguistic in appropriate way, we can now use the terms acquire. Nah, verbnya itu acquire. Acquisition is the noun. Kalau memperoleh itu acquire. So, how do they acquire the language? Do they have formal setting like this? Kalau anak-anak balita mungkin masih ada yang playgroup dan sebagainya kan di rumah itu mereka tidak ada setting. They have no academic setting, isn't it? Mungkin ada
Yes,
satu, ya, maybe 0.001% they have a setting. Maybe the parents have the obsession, and then at home also have a formal setting in teaching, but that's quite weird and uncommon, right? Nah, so they will hear, mereka itu mendengar, they will see, they will observe from surroundings, dari sekelilingnya. That's why it's the environment factor, right? Then what they absorb, what they perceive, it's acquiring. Itulah pemerolehan. Do they experience it consciously? Mereka sadar nggak? No. The input, ya, the absorbing of certain lexical item mungkin ya, unconsciously, tidak sadar. Jadi itulah perbedaan utama. Jadi teman-teman di sini sudah tahu di awal ya. When children acquire language through a natural. Nah, natural harus apa? Alami. No setting-setting ya. There is no exact academic setting ya. Through natural, subconscious. Subconscious ini apa? Kalau kena hipnotis itu subconscious. Nah, apa? Tapi ini this is not about hypnotizing. Ya, di bawah sadar. Jadi subconscious process during which they are unaware of what? Of grammatical rules. Ada ini yang di rumahnya teman-teman ini, misalnya dulu ya, bukan sekarang, kalau sekarang udah besar ya. Dulu waktu ini, misalnya Mbak Kadek ini di rumah langsung, buku, misalnya sudah bisa ngomong ya, nggak cuma kata-kata syllables and syllables, bukan suku kata, tapi sudah bisa merangkai kata. Lalu, aku buku itu, aku mau, nah misalnya itu. Lalu orang tuanya, oh no, that's incorrect. The correct one is, saya mau buku itu. Saya subjek, dan sebagainya, kan enggak? Nah, itulah acquiring. So, this is through natural, subconscious, ya kan? Nah, seperti itu. Aduh, pencet, mohon maaf ya. Ya, sudah. Nah, ini tadi rangkuman intinya seperti itu. So we'll have many cases ya. Learning a foreign language. Sekarang kalau belajar bahasa asing ya, it's not a matter of reading some grammar rules and memorizing some vocabulary words. Ya, tidak hanya itu. Mungkin itu kelihatan di on the surface, di permukaannya. Ya, although those are important activities, not to be ignored, acquiring a language is learning a skill, not a body of information. Jadi nanti teman-teman, ya, if we want to teach our student, yeah, the terminology is teaching, right? But in the concept is about acquiring a language. Karena apa? Kenapa kok pembelajaran bahasa itu mengadopsi acquiring language? Nah, saya buka diskusi di sini ya. Why? Can stop sharing dulu. Ya, in the modern teachings, ya, not with the traditional one, right? Why we have this approach? Pendekatannya kok itu ya? Padahal kan beda ya. Teaching and acquiring tadi, kalau teman-teman yang hadir di awal tadi, acquiring itu pemerolehan, natural, subconscious, ya, and unaware of grammatical rules. Nah, unaware, nggak sadar dia ternyata belajar grammar, gitu kan? Nah, from observing others, nanti dia lama-lama, oh ternyata bukan mau saya buku itu, tapi saya mau buku itu tadi ya yang saya contohkan Mbak Kadek. Ada yang mau men-sharekan? Why?
Can I answer, sir?
Oke, Mbak Zerlinda.
I think learning and acquiring is having correlation. It's that two things is like somehow related. The learning and acquiring that learning is we do that based on conscious process, and acquiring we do that based on subconscious process. Both have a relation where teacher is somehow maybe how teacher in my argument subconsciously teaching students, subconsciously tell students that how to do that right, how to do that right is like when simply teacher says, or maybe they don't teach student how the grammatical feature is, but they speak and student unconsciously know that, oh, that was teacher said. Maybe that is her, but in my opinion, they have a correlation and related.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mbak Selinda ya. Any other students that wanna add about our discussions? These discussions, why in modern teaching, yeah, we tend to have this approach, adapting, acquiring language, yeah, in a foreign language learning, in foreign language teaching. That's correlation, yeah, that's already highlighted by Mbak Zerlinda. Yeah, that students will subconsciously know what the teachers do, teachers speak. It means the flow, during the class, whatever the topics about language, But about the grammatical features that already mentioned by Selinda too, it's not that one, consciously learn, but subconsciously learn. They will know after that. Any other? Maybe one more opinion before we discuss about it in a class? Not yet? Okay, but one opinion is already enough, Thank you, Mbak Serlinda,
Sir,
you want to add?
Yeah, I think I want to add something. Like before this, we learn in English about phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, extensive vocabulary. I mean, I think those things are involved too. Language acquisition involves structures, rules, and representation, right? And I mean that there is somehow maybe being the capacity to use language successfully, like that was it too, I think. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Selinda, what we have learned is about micro and macro linguistics, right? Now we are going to have those macro that already larger, then have relation with other fields. If we talk about micro one, that started from the smaller one, the smallest one from phone, allophone, it means phonetic, phonology, morphology, about meaning, semantic, or not about meaning, about structure, syntax, then meaning in context, pragmatics, those are the attributes, not just about the grammar. That's good, grammar is one of them. So we are, as a student, maybe if we were students, we will take ourselves that one learning in that modern teaching environment, we will learn unconsciously about the, for example, phonetic, first from the class. Do my teacher use the word English, for example, or using one of the received pronunciation from the British, from the Americans, or from the Aussie, Aussie styles, or whatever is it, they will learn about it. Or, of course, in 2 credits, that's not about just in a class, but from outside of the class, from the individual learning, from surfing from YouTube, blah, blah, blah. That's also learning unconsciously. That is the point why those, be better. If we compare, and it's based on the articles too, it's scientific, from the younger age. We learn about second languages, not in the mature one, like after 40 years or 50 years, no, but in the early age. We tend, for the children, they tend to have a good achievement when they acquiring a language rather than have a classroom setting. That's why if we want to teach our student, and it's already adopted by the modern approach nowadays in language teaching and learning, we'll give them the environment of English. It's different with maybe 20, 30 years ago, At that time, the teacher gave them, the past students, for example, about telling experiences. But this is not about telling experiences, but this is about simple past. And they highlight about the formula first, about the pattern first. Subject, verb to, object, or complement, blah, blah, blah. That's again academic settings that the student give, for example, like imitating, then have kind of the same pattern related with the simple past again and again, and they build and they have those habitualized. But in our modern teaching, we get back because of several experts already make a critical thinking, criticize that one. Imagine that you learn 1 page of dictionary, yeah, in a day. Maybe you will master it after a week. How is about after a month? Maybe you lose a half. How is after a year? Maybe you just remember 1 or 2 words, something like that. So it just kept on the short-term memory. Jadi disimpannya itu di short-term memory. But if we learn it through context, unconsciously, especially subconscious, they will be kept in our long-term memory. That's why in our modern teaching, usually we give them context first. If it is related about text type, maybe we'll give them the authentic text, or the setting, or telling past experience. Maybe we'll give a story about someone who is familiar, popular, a public figure that the students interest. Then they like hearing or listening to the storytelling. Then they will learn unconsciously, subconsciously. Then after several or abundant input, related about, of course, the pattern of the simple past, for example, simple past. Then that's the role of teacher to highlight, to wrap up about the pattern. So what we learned today is about this one. What we have got through this storytelling is about this one. If you want to make it into your productive activity, it will be like this now, something like that. That's good, Mbak Selinda. This is not just about grammatical things, but this is about many things, that already, as a feature of it. If we talk about phonetic phonology, maybe the suprasegmental is matters. Suprasegmental, how is our tone, how is our speed of the speaking, how is our intonation, For example, for the vernaculars, or from, for example, the video inputs, that already have been learned in the class, outside of the class, usually about hearing the context, movie, videos, whether this is about the general one or about English learning, is from Afro-American. Then the public samples is about speech from Barack Obama, then Steve Harvey from the podcast, and then maybe about the public figure speech, maybe interviewing from the one who already passed away, Tupac, for example, or now Snoop Dogg or something like that. That they have already figurized, and also we can have the Afro-American figures, And then this influence, what the acquiring of our second language learning. Maybe we tend to have many slangs. We tend to have the Afro-American or Black English accent. Something like that. That unconsciously learned. Depends on our surrounding, depends on our context. That's very good discussions in the beginning, We'll continue. Now, this is the history, make an analogy, like swim or ride a bike, It is like learning about the Revolutionary War. This is the analogy. That is, you must not only understand the ideas and concepts, have information at the hand, but you must also make your body accustomed to using that information. Nah, kalau belajar sepeda itu hanya teorinya, nanti pedalnya, lalu ininya. Nah, that's about theory that is not appropriate here. Nah, makanya there is an important distinction made by linguists. Kalau dalam teaching, English teaching, we will adopt this between language acquisition and language learning. Nah, previously, Mbak Serlinda know what is the differences, very well. So far from our discussions from the beginning, I hope the rest of you have already know what is the differences between acquisition and language learning. because we want to discuss it more, about it related with the differences, the slight differences, and also the deep differences, from second language acquisition and language learning. Ini tadi yang sudah kita rangkum sebenarnya. Children acquire language through a subconscious process, during which they are unaware of grammatical rules. Sama, this is similar the way they acquire the first language. Makanya, when they acquire first language, that will be kind of a prototype, that can be adapted by second language learning, because it's very successful when you got it. Karena majority, if we have those in a smooth and clear way, we got our first language well, karena our mother tongue, except we have language barrier or kind of special needs in language learning. Mungkin ada yang kebutuhan khusus seperti itu kasus khusus 1-2. Oke. Nah, sekarang language learning on the other hand is not communicative. Makanya ini cerita dari tadi yang sudah kita bahas bersama. It is the result of direct instruction, the rules of language. Makanya student have conscious knowledge of the new language and can talk about knowledge. Nah, tetapi kita harus mengadopsi dengan cara yang lebih bisa menahan memori kita di long term memory, yaitu dengan subconscious way. They can fill in the blanks on a grammar page, This has shown seperti ini. Beda imitating dan sebagainya. Itu perlu, tetapi tidak sebagai tujuan utama. In other words, language acquisition is very similar to the process children use in acquiring first language. Ini ditekankan lagi. Jadi kita mengadopsi ini It requires meaningful interaction in the target language. So there will be meaningful interaction, not just about academic context that's separated from. Nah, ini catatannya that is separated from the natural context, the interaction from the learners and the target language. Jadi itu yang dihindari sebenarnya Semuanya tentu academic context, tapi academic context yang dihindari untuk belajar bahasa itu yang terpisah-pisah, yang tidak membawa authentic konteks yang tidak memberikan interaksi antara pembelajar dengan language target seperti itu. Nah, sekarang tadi kalau the traditional method yang kira-kira banyak dikritisi itu adalah imitating kalau zaman dulu itu setelah simple past, simple present nanti atau pronunciation misalnya mau tentang regular verbs, irregular verbs, nanti maju ke depan lalu mengulanginya. Lalu ada drilling. Nah, ini open discussion. How can we say drilling is incorrect and how we say drilling is incorrect? Kapan drilling itu tepat, kapan tidak tepat? Kalau dalam pembelajaran. How can we make drilling in an appropriate way? Nah, I will make an open discussions, Karena saya anggap second language learning sama acquisition tadi sudah kita dapatkan konsepnya Sekarang tinggal diskusinya. How can we make as a teacher later on drilling in appropriate way in teaching? Or no, we or I personally will not use that at all. Misalnya gitu. Pendapat dulu I will use it every time in a class. Boleh. Atau I will use it when atau if. Nah, boleh. Saya mau berpendapat. We will talk about drilling. Nah, kontekstual sekarang sudah ke permasalahan. Ya, presensi kedua yang di tengah. Wanna say, give opinion about drilling usage. Nah, saya kangen mendengar suaranya. Tadi kan sudah beberapa yang memberi suara ya. Salah satunya Mbak Zerlinda yang terakhir. Nah, oh Mbak Zerlinda. Kita beri kesempatan ke temannya yang lain ya. We'll give another opportunity. Nanti Mbak Zerlinda will have another one. Maybe the boy ya, yang ganteng ini, Mas Muhammad Arif Hamidi. Ya, sana. Ya, Mas Arif, can you hear my voice? Halo? Oke, saya pengen yang lainnya dulu misalnya ya. Mbak Novia Ardianti. Kadek Ferry is boy. Oh ya, sorry tadi ya. Tadi Mbak Selinda, saya Mbak Kadek tadi awal-awal ya. Oke, Kadek. Ya, Kadek. Sekarang karena disebut ya Mas Kadek. Selain
Yes,
Mas.
sir.
Ya. So sorry ya Mas Kadek ya.
It's okay, sir.
It's a pandemic situations. Yeah. So
Yes.
we need to have more and more time to have interactions ya, Mbak. Mas Kadek. Kadek Ferry.
Yes.
How's your opinion about drilling usage in a teaching? Oh, Mas Arif ya. Oke, it's okay, Mas Arif. Mas Kadek. How can you use the drilling? Yeah, how? In what situations? In all situations, never use it, or use it in this situation. Karena tadi kan, if we do a reflection, drilling is a traditional part that have, wow, of course, tiba-tiba drilling, that's have criticized. There are several critics yeah, related with this. Then some expert guide us using this approach to adapt acquiring language in a second language teaching, not just about drilling, imitating, and also memorizing the formula or pattern. Nah, Mas Kadek. Jadi nowadays in the modern approach, how can you use drilling?
How can I use drilling language?
Drilling, misalnya ya, prosedur. Oh no, that's not procedure. Procedure. Ya, repeat after me. Procedure. Nah.
Maksudnya kayak menggunakan sesuai aksen gitu ya?
Bukan. Drilling itu drill. Drilling, teman-teman di sini Pak, kita konsepnya drilling dulu ya. Drilling ini kan drill dalam bahasa Indonesia. Paham drilling? Misalnya nggak hanya about pronunciation, about formula. Subject, verb to, object or complement. Subject, verb to, object or complement. Then drilling. Then we have another one. Oke, kalau contohnya ya with subject, verb to, and complement. Subject, verb to, and object. Dengan ibu ya, my mother went to the store, complement ya, using the adverb. With object, for example, I kicked the ball. I kicked the ball. That's drilling. Maybe in the early age, maybe with writing ya. Dulu ada ini kertas bergaris itu ya. Say write the same one in into 20 times, 20 kali misalnya. Ini Budi. Saya Budi. I am 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 Budi. Nah, that's drilling.
Oke.
Nggak apa-apa, ini diskusi ya. Kita
Yes.
saling ini. Biar
Drilling itu kayak terus menerus gitu ya.
Yap. Nanti teaching kan ada. Di konteksnya nggak hanya tentang pronunciation ya, banyak. Kira-kira boleh nggak kita pakai drilling? Kan tadi disorot itu drilling kan, using traditional approach. Oke, Mbak Selinda, wanna add? Tadi kan sudah I already gave several. Because you raise your hand, it is not
Yeah,
fair
I
if I
want.
do not count you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry if in your class I talk a lot because like it's interesting for me, and
That's okay.
I think we all know what we all face the drilling before. I mean, when you go to in front of class after teacher repeat what after teacher speak and they want you to repeat, or after teacher write and they want you to repeat, we somehow learn drilling method here. But what I think here about drilling method, when you ask me the question, right, is it effective or not, right, sir?
Yeah, maybe that one is okay.
That's what I catch here. But I think drilling is somehow, when you learn new language, it's effective because like you still have no idea what in your mind about the new language you learn about. Somehow it's drilling is related to the acquire things. I don't know what is that, but
Yeah.
I forgot how to spell it, sir. But
Acquiring,
that's-
yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, acquiring. That's it. Drilling is somehow related to acquiring, and sometimes students do it subconsciously when they are about to in the drilling method. But I think when you learn new language, drilling is effective, and drilling is become not so effective when you learn more into the language, because the same structure maybe is not be the one that writes all the time. So students can learn based on one structure. They need to learn more variative and more examples, which maybe that one structure can give them. If the drilling methods keep going on, maybe they just know the basic, but they can develop or they can improve their skills to learn new language. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ya, Mbak Serlinda. Ya, when you say so sorry for have like a lot of talking in my class, that's really okay. Yeah, I love the interactions. Yeah, if you wanna say something related with our topic, yeah, that make us better. It means not just about you yourself, but your friends. Yeah, your friend can learn through these interactions. Okay, first, yeah, if we see this is effective or not, yeah, that's what I want to say to you. Yeah, that's why I asked these questions, because from the background of the discussion, yeah, we say that the traditional method is like this, using tiba-tiba, yeah, suddenly the teaching gives the formula, then have this about drilling teaching for related about this pattern. Nah, that is not the effective way if we face into that traditional one. Yeah, in every context, in every topics of teaching. Yeah, that need to be avoided. But if we use drilling in appropriate way, like what Serlinda said, one of them, that's correct. That will be effective. Yeah, in a second language learning, yeah, we talk about acquiring, pemerolehan. Pemerolehan kan ada drillingnya. In acquiring, yeah, we have a drilling. For example, when we talk about family's environment, when your mother and father talk similar things, yeah, for you, put that down, put that down, put that down. For example, in a week, you hear that 5 times, 10 times. That's drilling, right? But in a context, yeah, first. Then, if we acquiring a new language, maybe to make it efficient, we will make it, yeah, in certain times, but we will have that as a period of time in a focus, as a correction, as highlighting something, for example, like that. So we will not do imitating and drilling a lot of time and all the time. No, that will be not efficient. But if we make it in appropriate way, for example, yeah, when we have, for example, in speaking, then we quite have a difficulty related with, for example, mentioning, maybe you teach your student hour, and your student several times made the mistakes about hour, then you, okay, stop. Nah, this is about correction, yeah. Then we'll focus on several pronunciation that you have made so far. Nah, ini kan berhubungan dengan, it's related with the language learning theory. Do not stop in the middle, right? To this will cut off your student motivation. Nah, semua pasti ada hubungannya. Nah, lalu drilling digunakan ini saat evaluasi. When we evaluate about those several mistakes that you want to improve your student to have a good one, better one. Nah, we have drilling. And then we will focus on certain vocabulary. Yeah, we have a drilling. Nah, as a summarizing, we have a drilling or imitating. That's correct. Yeah, but do not use it every time, then everywhere, every context, every topics. Yeah, then we'll use it, yeah, as we need. It's like that. Yeah, so the focus will be different. If we have highlighted drilling in a specific context, nah, karena memang mau mengacu ke beberapa hal, nanti student will focus on that one. Oh, that's my mistake. I already made this one, and they will remember. Drilling tapi tetap kept in the long-term memory. Tapi kalau drilling without purpose, nanti misalnya semua a lot of words and they have drilling, itu tadi seminggu I use bahasa ya, mungkin seminggu itu hafal, sebulan mungkin masih banyak yang hafal, setahun mungkin separuh, setelah 2 tahun mungkin hanya 2-3. Nah, that's the theory and that's also scientific writing about it. Ya, jadi kita misalnya learning vocabulary itu tidak hanya ya, tidak hanya ya, drilling boleh in the certain way. Nah, itu yang kita soroti ya, that will be highlighted when we talk about acquiring language ya, and learning. Nah, kita karena tahu konsepnya, jadi tadi kasus. Ini bukan tentang we will not say this as the main discussion ya. Nanti mungkin teman-teman ya yang baru memahami tadi acquiring versus learning itu bukan tentang drilling versus yang ini tadi. Ini salah satu kasusnya. Nah, kalau acquiring and learning kan tadi learning is in a academic context ya, consciously with the setting of grammatical rules, ya, traditionally, but acquiring, ya, subconscious, unaware of grammar, ya, learning happily, and etc. because it's natural behavior. Nah, inilah hal seperti ini yang diadopsi saat kita memperoleh bahasa pertama, kita adopsi untuk pembelajaran bahasa kedua. Kenapa? Learning in English, and you are as a language teacher will have this knowledge. Jadi saat mengajar siswa nanti bukan hanya langsung drilling pattern, ya itu boleh tetapi di konteks-konteks khusus, ya, specific context. Oke, beberapa hal saya highlight saja ya. That's about our class related with karena saya mau gunakan ini untuk review ya. Nanti akan saya review pertemuan-pertemuan sebelumnya. Oke. Ya. This is the expert, ya. That if we talk ya, tidak hanya beliau ya. it is not just about him, but this is one of them. Yeah, when we talk about language acquisition, ya, Stephen Presence. Setahu saya ini beliau masih hidup, ya. If you watch some YouTube or talk show, ya, about linguistics, ya, he give fundamental knowledge, ya, related with this, ya. There is no fundamental difference between the way we acquire our first language and our subsequent language. Yeah, he claims, it means Stephen Presence, that humans have an innate ability that guides the language learning process. Yeah, that's why we adopt that one. Ada lagi ahli lainnya Chomsky, ya. Chomsky called the special inborn language capability, itu namanya the language acquisition device, LAD. Yeah, from this, he developed the theory that all language share an underlying system named universal grammar. Jadi, ya seperti yang pengantar dulu, if we learn about language in general, ya, they have similarity in this word. That's universal grammar, universal language. But of course, in a specific case in every language, we are special, ya. Kalau teman-teman melihat slide yang saat kita membahas sintaks, ingat ada berapa persen itu bahasa di dunia yang subject, verb, object. Ada nggak bahasa yang ini objeknya di depan? Ada nggak bahasa yang objeknya di depan? Ada atau tidak dulu ya? Ada atau tidak? Yang subjeknya di depan ada nggak?
Ada sepertinya, Sir.
Kalau yang kata kerja di depan, if we have verb in the initial structure, ada nggak ya? Ada nggak?
Ada, Sir.
Ada, tapi
Ada,
kayaknya aneh gitu ya. Oke. Kita sambil review ya, sebentar. Nah, ini, do you remember this slide? This is our sixth, ya, week 6 di minggu ke-6. Nah, kan kemarin saya berikan analogi ya. Nggak tahu, mungkin teman-teman dosen yang lain pasti Pak Hari itu sering analogi karena because analogi make us easier to learn. Yeah, of course we will not do merely about analogi, but we will bring into language context. This is John, this is Mark, ya kan? Remember, ada John, ada Mark, ada sebuah fenomena seperti itu. Ada activity-nya. Oh, tackling atau jumping nanti dari sudut pandang yang mana? From the which point of view that we want to talk. Nah, misalnya kita akan tackle-nya, ya. Ada di dunia ini yang bahasanya Mark, tackle John. Kok ada di dunia, Pak? Nah, kita bisa bilang seperti itu karena bahasa kita seperti itu. We use again, then with the other one. Subject, verb, object. English dan sebagainya, ya. Itu 42% itu pembicara di dunia, ya. Bertutur di dunia. The utterances use this subject. Termasuk bahasa Indonesia. Nah, ada juga yang Mark, John, tackled. Inilah yang disebut universal language, itu pasti ada Mark sebagai agen, ada yang namanya verb itu ada, yang namanya objek ada. Tapi ada specificity, ya, we have uniqueness. Ada yang subject, object, verb. Nah, kalau ingat sintaks ini tadi, that is not maybe, but there is. Yes, it is. Gitu ya. Karena pernah ada di slide, ada di penjelasan ya. Jadi ada itu yang verb di depan ya, misalnya Hebrew, Irish, Arabic, or the other one. Ada yang susunan-susunan seperti itu ya. Okay, this is a review. So that's what Chomsky, ya, Noam Chomsky, that want to give us understanding related with this second and first language acquisition. Ya, language learning dan sebagainya itu. Nah, sebentar. We still have time. Okay, then I will make another highlight. Bukan ini. Loh. Ya. Nah, if we talk about the model, nah tadi ada Cresson synthesize his theory of second foreign language learning in what is usually referred to as the monitor model. Jadi ada itu kan dari sudut pandang yang berbeda-beda ada 5 components. The acquisition learning hypothesis, the natural order hypothesis, the monitor hypothesis, the input hypothesis, and the effective filter hypothesis. Itu tadi acquisition. There are 2 ways of developing language ability, by acquisition and by learning. Nah, inilah si Cresson itu menekankan ke yang kita bahas tadi. According to Cresson, learned language cannot be turned into acquisition. Tidak bisa diubah, ya. Memang tidak bisa diubah, ya. Ingat, tidak bisa diubah karena learning language, ya. Language is acquired in a predictable order by all learners. Nah, kita belajar dari yang ini ya, pertama yang the natural hypothesis, karena hipotesisnya banyak. Kita harus belajar dari beberapa pendapat ahli, ya. Language is acquired in predictable order by all learners, ya. This order doesn't depend on the apparent simplicity or complexity of the grammatical feature involved. The natural order of acquisition cannot be influenced by direct teaching of features that learner is not yet ready to acquire. Nah, the natural order of acquisition cannot be influenced by direct teaching of feature that the learner is not ready to acquire. Jadi nanti kalau ada pemerolehan bahasa, misalnya bahasa ibu dan sebagainya, tiba-tiba ada direct teaching features yang di tengah-tengah itu, tapi memang belum masanya, itu dalam hipotesis ini tidak akan bisa. Ya, misalnya acquiring untuk anak-anak 6-5 tahun, tapi sudah diberikan complexity teaching di usia misalnya untuk teenage misalnya. Itu kan memang bisa pembelajaran acquiring, pemerolehan, tapi kalau di CCP that not yet ready to acquire, ya there will be cannot be influenced gitu. Dan sebagainya, ya. Ini model-model hypothesis. Nanti teman-teman bisa baca, saya akan sisipkan nanti di apa namanya? On our website, ya, in the e-learning website. Nah, ini berbagai macam, ya. Nah, sekarang saya gunakan waktu yang berharga ini untuk review sebenarnya, ya. Pengen review yang the first and also second language learning and language acquisition itu mungkin tadi sementara. Sekarang kita akan review, ya. Diskusi tadi sudah ada Mas Kade, Mbak Selinda, ya. Sekarang nanti itu kalau saya tanya perorangan, ya, saya tanya umum saja, wanna answer later on, ya. If we talk about pragmatics, ya. Kalau kita bicara tentang pragmatics, ya. Lalu saya bertanya ke teman-teman, ya. I will ask you, why do you all, ya, feel shy to speak? Why just Mbak Selinda and Mas Kade that speak? Nah, misalnya saya bilang seperti itu. Itu sebuah that's a questions or statement or instruction.
Statement.
Statement. Why? Ada why-nya itu. Why just? Oke, saya ubah ya. Itu adalah sebuah pertanyaan. Langsung ya. Jadi teman-teman langsung jawab tadi ya. Oh, that is a statement, sir. Oh, that is a question. Karena saya nanya why. Nah, misalnya kalau di sini bentar ya. Kalau di online ini konteksnya akan saya buat seperti okay, I will give another context ya in offline setting. Imagine that in front of you there is a whiteboard or blackboard ya. Then I as a teacher or lecturer said the whiteboard is messy. There are a lot of handwriting there. Itu statement, questions, atau instruction?
Statement, sir.
Statement.
Nah, statement, that's correct. And what would you do when I do that? When I state that, what would you do?
Cleaning the whiteboard.
Erase the whiteboard.
Nah,
Cleaning the whiteboard.
cleaning the whiteboard. Nah, dalam pragmatik itu disebut tindakan apa? Ya, Mbak Selinda?
I think it's called speech acts because
Speech
you
act.
give your. I think it's let me explain that chronologically. When first you ask your student about like, why are all the students shy? Only me and Kadek answered your question, and you ask, is it a question or it's a statement? I think it contains the rhetoric. I think it's contained the rhetorical structure of your statement there, where it's okay. I think I don't have to answer yes. All the students are shy, maybe, but somehow it contains the question too. And when you ask, the whiteboard is messy. There's a lot of handwriting there. It contains the implication of your words that somehow you want the student to clean,
Thank you.
and somehow you want to say that the whiteboard is messy. I can't use it for writing to teach you. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Selinda ya. The other opinion? Ya, there is implication tadi ya. Speech act. Nah, nanti teman-teman you will learn about speech act. Read it more ya. Speech act. Karena dalam kita berbicara itu there is an act, ada tindak tuturnya. Ya. But the speech act is not just based on the theory of speech act. Ya, because it's contextual. Nanti misalnya ada maxim, itu nggak harus tentang ada following maxim, but also break the maxim, float the maxim, violate the maxim, dan sebagainya. Nah, tadi when I make a statement, kalau kita belajar speech act itu statement ya. Kalau statement about whiteboard or blackboard. Nah, tapi dalam pragmatik itu ada, dalam speech act itu ada implicator. Nah, implication tadi yang Mbak Selinda sebut, implicator itu adalah hal yang teman-teman tanggap. Nah, itu berarti sudah peka secara bahasa. Kalau misalnya jalan-jalan sama gebetannya ya, misalnya Mbak Angela ini diajak temennya yang sedang mau pendekatan ya, lalu Mbak Angela bilang, saya haus gitu ya, haus. Saya temannya, pernyataan saja, saya haus. Hanya statement to inform. Nah, itu belum peka, makanya habis itu nggak jadi ya. Ini cowok gimana ini, nah misalnya itu. Nah, in speech act we learn that implicator, makna lain di balik ucapan secara harafiahnya. In the literal one, that statement. But the purpose asking, if you are aware, please buy me a drink. Please give me a drink. Please treat me. Ya, you try to approach me, right, boys? Misalnya gitu. Nah, itu tadi sama dengan gurunya ya. Satu, gurunya tadi manja ya, misalnya saya nggak mau ngapus gitu kan. Nah, pengen siswanya ngapus. Nah, itu dan siswanya tanggap gitu kan. Tanggapnya. Itu politeness ya. Tadi kita anggap santai ya, manja dan sebagainya, ini that's a joke ya. Tetapi intinya ini meminta tolong mahasiswanya, ya, asking for help for you to erase. Nah, tadi misalnya, oh, some of you or most of you unfortunately ya are aware, itu implicated. Kalau kita lihat dalam teori lain, itu kan ada, nanti belajar lagi ya, dibaca. Tingkatannya kan dibagi, Ferdinand de Saussure, make it into 3. Tadi implikator sudah kita bahas itu ya, itu implikatornya, speech act-nya. Lalu dalam tindakannya ada locution, illocution, perlocution. Ya, dalam teks dulu materi, I already gave you a sample of watch out, there is a bull in the field. Ingat toh? Watch out. Awas, ada banteng di halaman itu. Nah, itu peringatan, warning ya. Nah, itu dalam Ferdinand de Saussure tingkatannya, kalau kita dalam speech act itu ada 3 itu tadi. Perlokusi, ilokusi, lokusi, ilokusi, perlokusi. Ya, locution, illocution, perlocution. What is the illocution? Locution is just that one on the surface ya, hanya ujaran yang bermaksud untuk apa? There is a bull in the field. Nah, ujaran yang tingkatannya adalah instruction. Lalu perlokusinya adalah dia adalah maksudnya untuk warning. Awas ya, watch out. Lalu perlokusi adalah tindakan yang dihasilkan dari pertuturan tersebut. The response from what you have heard. Tadi seperti implikator tadi, teman-teman sudah melakukan kalau memang beraksi ya dengan menghapus, itu sudah melakukan perlokusi yang diharapkan. The perlocution is from watch out, dari a bull in the field, mungkin bertamunya tidak lewat halaman depan yang dari large lawn, tapi lewat belakang. That's perlocution. That is cause and effect ya in the language too, that we learn through that one. Oke, itu sedikit tentang pragmatik ya. Lalu misalnya lainnya ya. Kalau kita bahas sintaks belum mendalam ya. Why we need to learn syntax ya? Why we need to learn syntax? Kok kita perlu capek-capek belajar sintaks ya sebagai mahasiswa bahasa Inggris itu? Kenapa? Okay, I will give another chance first ya, Mbak Selinda, to others. Mbak Kartika, Puspita Sari. Mbak Kartika?
Sir, kalau boleh tahu syntax itu apa ya, Sir?
Pardon?
Syntax itu apa tadi pertanyaannya?
Syntax.
Ya, itu apa, Sir, kalau boleh tahu?
Oh ya.
Tadi nggak fokus soalnya sambil ngerjakan tugas. Sir.
Oh ya, sebentar ya. Saya tunjukkan langsung saja. Sudah saya buka ya tadi, mohon maaf. Bentar. Nah, yang slide ini tadi. tadi kan pragmatic, semantik, pragmatic, ini sintak. Yang ada orang nekel tadi lah. Mas
Oh
Rofi.
ya, toh. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I ask about the syntax. Ini pengantarnya kan. Kenapa? Why humans different with animal? Ya. Ini. This one. Nah ini jasanya ya. Nah tapi I wanna discussion. Karena nah, itu core-nya ya. In every ya. You wanna say?
Can
Mbak
I
Saida?
answer?
Ya, Mbak Saida.
Without studying syntax, yeah, sir. It is difficult for us as a student to arrange word into word combination to form systematically arranged phrase, clauses, and sentences. Syntax learning is very useful to support our competence in writing.
Yeah. In a simple way.
Can I give my opinion, sir?
Ya, oke, thank you Mbak Saida ya, dan Mbak Reina.
Okay, so in my opinion, syntax is important to us because it helps us to make a language or write a sentence in a good structure.
In a good structure. Oke, thank you.
Dan, I mean like itu membantu kita untuk membuat kalimat yang terstruktur and people can understand what the meaning of the sentences.
Oke, thank you ya Mbak Rina. Dan Mbak Selinda, nah this is your turn.
Welcome, sir.
So sorry to postpone
Sorry,
it.
Jerlinda.
Oke, Mbak Rina, thank you.
Okay. I think Mbak Rina already stated my answer. Well, simply syntax help us to understand how the sentence work. Is when you first show us the imagine about the tackle, somehow we simply learn syntax from your explanation, how you syntax your order to make students understand, and how it simply gets to us to understand. I think it's syntax, and this is a basic theory that we all have here to make all of people and all of the elements to help people understand how we state something. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you Mbak Selin ya. We learn how to organize word into sentence, ya. Whether this is compound sentence, complex sentence, ya, or just simple sentence, ya. Of course, started from word. We analyze it from word, right? Structure of the sentence itu beranjak dari kata dulu. The part of speech, ya, of this. This is this is noun, this is verb, this is complement, this is determiner, and extra. Ya. Then we arrange that into one noun phrase. This is verb phrase. This is object, and blah blah blah. Later on, you will learn that one. Yeah. More individually, because in our curriculum syntax is outside of the course. Jadi I hope you learn that more, ya. Tadi kita belajar, Pak, bedanya dengan grammar apa, ya? That's how, like pragmatic and semantic, syntax. We learn syntax as a teacher. We learn the core. Ini kita belajar core-nya, asal usulnya, sampai ke asal usulnya. Then we will teach them to our student in the form of, ya, the word formation. One of them is a grammar, ya, the structure and grammar. Jangan ajarkan mereka sintaks, karena sintaks itu ilmunya untuk, ya, for you, for us, to them. Karena ya mereka boleh belajar nanti kalau sudah levelnya. Karena nanti mereka belajar yang that's on the surface, that's already implicated, ya, in that daily life, how to use and the sound word. Then you will make a solution. You will validate that this sentence is right grammatically in this structure, ya, by your knowledge of syntax. You will validate this. You will explain to them by your knowledge of syntax, something like that. Nah, good. Saya akan tambah diskusinya ya. Misalnya saya akan ketik seperti ini. Visiting. Oke, dibaca komen. Oh kok direct message ya, maaf. Bentar. Ya, visiting friends can be boring. Nah, misalnya ada kalimat seperti ini, visiting friends can be boring. Apa yang muncul? What does it cross in your mind? Tell me in bahasa or in English. Visiting friends can be boring. In bahasa. Coba ya. Mbak Fani. Visiting friends can be boring. What do you catch in bahasa Indonesia? Yang Mbak Fani tangkap dengan bahasa Indonesia apa? Visiting friends can be boring.
Maksudnya gimana tuh, Sir?
Ya, baca visiting friends can be boring, paham ini diartikan pakai bahasa Indonesia apa? Saya tanya pendapatnya teman-teman. Misalnya kalau saya bilang I love you, kan tahu, wah Pak Ari suka saya, misalnya gitu. Nah ini visiting friends can be boring. Nah pemahamannya apa?
Membosankan.
Apanya yang membosankan? Misalnya.
Menjenguk teman bisa menjadi membosankan, Sir.
Menjenguk teman bisa sangat membosankan. Oke.
Yes.
Ada lagi yang sama atau beda?
Bicara berulang-ulang gitu, Sir. Buat bosan.
Visiting itu mengunjungi teman, not talking.
Oh, sorry, Sir.
Yang saya chat itu, ada di chat, saya tulis di chat. Ya. Visiting friends can be boring. Tadi Mbak Rina sudah dapatnya ya.
Hangout terus-menerus gitu, Sir.
Hangout terus-menerus.
Jadi bosan.
Jadi bosan ya, kayak tadi ya bersama dengan Mbak Rina. Jadi salah satu sintaks besok, kalau you face this sentence and you want to explain to your student or your student have a question about this meaning, and without a context, you will give them two context. Ini kan ambiguity. Visiting friends can be boring. Jadi aktivitinya. Oh, Mbak Selinda wanna say something?
I think when you ask me and when you ask the students to open discussion about this and I learn about this, so in my mind it's like there is something related to the who, what, when, and the other thing and the other references that will make it clear who make you boring, what make you boring, and like who make you boring. Friends, why you are boring with that, because you are too often visiting them. And I think it's related to that, and the common question that we often hear from our teacher is about the apa, di mana, siapa, dan kapan, mengapa. It's related somehow to your sentence.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's what our understanding when we face this sentence. Yeah, who, what make me boring, and etc. Yeah. what make me boring, that make it ambiguity, or who make me boring. Visiting friends. Nah ini we want to relate it with syntax, ya. Can be boring, can be boring. Then what make it boring? Visiting friends. Visiting friends can be two. This is ambiguity. Nanti tergantung susunan di sintaksnya. Nah, teman-teman kalau di sintaks besok, if you learn syntax, you will learn about tree structure. Nah, masuk ke tree structure-nya ini bisa membedakan visiting friends ini. Apakah tadi kunjungan ke teman-teman itu bikin bosan. Nah, misalnya saat lebaran ya, misalnya. Itu kan sebuah aktivitas mengunjungi itu visiting friends, visiting relatives. Itu hal yang kegiatan itu bikin bosan, makes boring. Nah, itu makna pertama. Makna kedua, ini hati-hati ya kalau ada temennya yang datang, lalu bilang visiting friends, ada beberapa teman yang mengunjungimu, itu buatmu boring, buatmu bosan. Satu itu tentang kegiatannya, yang kedua tentang orang yang sedang mengunjungi kamu. Visiting friends can be boring. Nah, that's the syntax can answer and make clear of it. Dua-duanya salah? Dua-duanya benar? Ya, bisa. Semuanya mungkin. Tetapi dalam konteks tertentu, ya in a certain context, you can explain to students, to your friends. Which one? Maksudnya yang mana? Yang visiting friends activity atau visiting friends related to the persons that currently visits you. That's what make it syntax. Ya, salah satu aplikasi dari syntax selain tadi learning how it forms in a good way, in structure way, nanti juga bisa teman to help you to analyze in ambiguity sentence ya, which meaning that appropriate to the context that what already wanted by the speaker, seperti itu. Nah, misalnya salah satu ini hanya suka makan ayam goreng kan, the chicken, tapi jangan is ready to eat. Nah, langsung saja ya, karena waktunya terbatas. The chicken is ready to eat, misalnya. Tadi saya lead pakai makan ya, jadi the chicken is ready to eat. Ini nanti strukturnya bisa beda, maknanya beda. Kalau secara semantik, nanti maknanya teman-teman jelaskan secara lisan. Kalau secara struktur, nanti pakai susunan kalimatnya. You will differentiate with the sentence structure. The chicken is ready to eat, for example. Nah, mungkin tiap-tiap orang misalnya 80% akan punya persepsi A, 20% punya persepsi B, itu nggak apa-apa. Kok banyak sekali, Pak? Nah, namanya prototipe yang pertama, karena yang lebih umum. Nah, the chicken is ready to eat. Kalau dalam bahasa Inggris, ini ada dua. Maksudnya, ayamnya, kamu punya ayam, kita punya ayam, ya, atau saya punya ayam. Ayamnya itu siap-siap untuk makan, ya, siap untuk makan. Nah, makan makanan ayam. Yang kedua, settingnya itu adalah we have already cooked chicken. Jadi ayam yang sudah matang dan siap untuk kita makan. Nah, itu kan my current explanation is literal explanation. This is about semantic tentang makna. Nah, nanti teman-teman butuh menjelaskan secara strukturnya. Kalau secara struktur itu bedanya di mana Pak Guru? Nah, nanti teman-teman jelaskan secara dengan siswanya pakai sintaksnya itu. Ya. The chicken is ready to eat, and then the chicken is ready to eat with the meaning the chicken, live chicken that wanna eat, and then the other one is different ya. Itu. Nah, hal-hal seperti itu. Lalu mungkin terakhir saya review wait for a minute ya, sebentar. Okay. So sorry for it, I cannot find the file yet, but I will give the review. Ini mungkin review terakhir, because I have another class too after this. Okay, everyone, please imagine, ya, imagine about a thing. Saat saya sebutkan, teman-teman bayangkan. Nanti you can give me your imagination. What is your imagination, ya? When I mention, nanti you will imagine with a picture in your mind, ya, detail-detailnya. When I mention fish, ya, fish. Kayak Pak Jokowi ya, jenis-jenis ikan, fish. Apa? Nah, sekarang siapa? Apa yang muncul dalam benak teman-teman?
In the sea.
Pardon?
In the sea.
In the sea. Fish-nya, ya boleh. Yang in the sea. Good, Mas Rofi. Apa? Yang dalam bayangan teman-teman, ikan apa?
Ikan tongkol.
Shark.
Fish cake.
Salmon.
Salmon.
Lele.
Maybe, yeah.
In my head, there is fish cake.
Fish cake, okay. Bluefish, cobia, there are many kinds of fish. Ya, maybe ada yang lainnya? Catfish, lele? Hah? Whale, oke, okay. Paus, ya, shark. Maybe sharknya yang apa? Oh, hammer shark. Maybe blue shark, killer shark.
Orca shark.
Ya, misalnya seperti itu.
Fish.
Ya, that's examples of prototype. Tadi saya sebutkan prototype dalam konteks lain, ini prototype dalam pola pikir, ini dalam psikolinguistik. Jadi yang teman-teman sebutkan tadi prototypes. Apa yang melintas di teman-teman pertama kali itu adalah apa yang ada dalam tumpukan pertama memori teman-teman. Karena ikan itu banyak. So what is kind of fish? Misalnya kalau friends, mungkin dalam pikiran kita siapa teman yang pertama muncul dalam pikiran kita. That's the order of. And then there are many activity. Kalau teman-teman melihat PowerPoint yang psikolinguistik kemarin kan ada misalnya warna, color. Nah, nanti activity-nya itu. Teman-teman buat activity kemarin kan, tapi kita tidak bertemu langsung. Jadi ada color, warna. Tapi there are two types. The real color, warnanya saja. Yang satu, the word of that color. Blue misalnya B-L-U Nah, itu dibuat lomba itu. Kalau menyebutkan warnanya, tapi hurufnya itu beda. Misalnya warnanya merah, tapi hurufnya itu blue. Gitu. Nanti mana yang dominan? Nah, itu ada dalam psikolinguistik. Nah, dalam bahasa yang berhubungan dengan akal pikiran kita, itu banyak yang bisa dipelajari. Nah, salah satunya nanti kenapa ada misalnya visual that make what's that? Visual that make illusion for our hearing. Nah, nanti teman-teman ini review, itu sudah terakhir, tapi saya minta aktivitas ya, mandiri. Nah, ini nanti di browsing di YouTube tentang McCord effect. Nah, salah satunya ya, kita kan banyak psikolinguistik, mungkin teman-teman saya ingin mengeksplor tentang McCord effect. Praktekkan apakah benar atau tidak, tapi jujur ya, apa itu McCord effect? Jadi teman-teman nanti diberi kata di situ ya, ada sebuah video misalnya yang baba dan mama. Ya, baba, mama. Beda atau sama? Beda ya kalau saya yang ucapkan. Nah, nanti di situ ada visual yang sama tapi pakai editing ya. Saat teman-teman melihat ada orang yang sama, baba, lalu satunya mama, itu akan sama. Lalu teman-teman diminta, ya, you are asked to close your eyes. So you will listen by your eyes closed. Jadi nanti yang kedua kali caranya adalah mendengarkan dengan matanya tertutup. Nah, apa yang teman-teman ini? Apa yang teman-teman dengarkan? Nah, kayak gitu akan berbeda. Ternyata visual ini bisa deflect our hearing. Nah, itu. Nanti di McGurk effect. Nah, nanti dibuktikan sendiri, browsing ya, tentang McGurk effect, misalnya samples. Ya, mungkin kalau saya coba tak browsingkan sebentar sebagai closing ya. Ada nggak ya McGurk effect di YouTube? Hmm. Mohon maaf. Terus suaranya masuk ya. Bentar. Salah satu linknya saya berikan di chat. Ya, salah satunya saja. Nah, itu nanti bisa di-copy untuk activity. Ya. Nah, contohnya yang ini. Nah, nanti praktekkan. Sudah kelihatan ya layar YouTube saya?
Kelihatan, Pak.
Ya, misalnya link-link seperti ini diputar cuma 16 detik, tapi lakukan dengan mata tertutup yang kedua kali ya. Nanti dipraktekkan sendiri. Nanti efeknya seperti apa, teman-teman rasakan apa, you will have kind of conclusion. Oke, got it? Paham ya? Ya, thank you very much for it. Yeah, I think that's all for our meeting today. Thank you very much for having the language learning versus second language acquisition and several review feedback related with the syntax, semantic, pragmatic and psycholinguistic. Terima kasih. Sebelum ini saya presensi yang kedua kali. Ketiga ya, tadi di tengah sudah. Nah. Oke, sampai jumpa lagi ya. Nah, akhiri saya close habis ini. Thank you.